The mobile meals of Myrtle Beach need help to keep their wheels rolling. Find out how you can be a part on this morning's Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Myrtle Beach Herald. We're focused on mobile meals of Myrtle Beach, and we're visiting with its president, Eric Meace. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Greg.
Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Wonderful.
It's amazing to learn more about mobile meals and to see the commitment that you all make, not only providing so many of these meals up and down the Strand, but to recognize there's other mobile meals, not only in Oree, but throughout the PD.
Throughout the country, really.
Throughout the country. You know, so often now as we hear about Meals on Wheels, which I guess is a government-supported...
It's a federal thing. Ours is a privately held one.
Right. That's right. You all supported primarily, at least the mobile meals of Myrtle Beach, by 8 area churches.
Well, there are 8 area churches. There's the United Way. There's the Foundation for the Ocean View Baptist Church. And, of course, plenty of good private citizens who want to help.
That's right. And donations are always an important thing. Sure want to get into that in a minute. But real quick about yourself, Eric. Are you originally from the area?
No, I'm not. I was born in England.
Oh, really?
My granddaddy and his father were born in Beaufort, South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
My granddaddy was a sailor, went to sea at 18, sailing between Buenos Aires, Liverpool, and a ship came into Liverpool with yellow fever, so he did not join the crew and spent the rest of his life in England, and is why my daddy and I were both born over there.
Is that
so
right?
I finally closed the loop and came home.
Do you still have relatives over there? Do you visit often?
No. Well, I do get over there, but I don't have any family over there. Most of my family were from New Jersey as well, my mother's side.
So you've got a South Carolina connection, a New Jersey connection, and a London, England connection.
Well, it was actually almost at the Lake District in the Northwest. Yes, and that's where I grew up, and that's where I went to college, and then came back to New Jersey.
Yeah, I think I saw you had some time in Canada as well.
I did. I had almost in Canada. I was in Montreal for 13 years. And I went up to grad school there and stayed 13 years, worked for Pratt & Whitney, and worked for Bendix Aerospace, and then went into the chemicals business.
That's fascinating, Eric. How long were you in the chemicals business?
21 years.
Is that right? I think I also saw you spend a little graduate work there in New York City.
Yes, Columbia Graduate School of Business. Right.
That's been exciting.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, one thing that when I look back on my career, if I had it all to do again, I would have that same type of a job. Meeting people, being with people. I can't fly a desk, and that was the best thing for me to do.
Right.
And I really enjoyed it.
That's fascinating, and I think I saw a good bit of your time was spent overseeing operations both in the Far East, I believe.
Yes, I was chairman of the board for Europe and intended to stay there until I retired. But the company had other ideas and brought me back home, and I then took over the Far East and South America, which really, although it was a lot of fun once the networks had been established, it was virtually sitting on airplanes, and that's why I retired. I'll be quite frank with you, if I'd known how much fun retirement was, I would have retired years ago.
Retirement's probably kept you as busy as working.
Or busier.
Or busier,
because when you're retired, you do things you want to do.
Yes.
And a lot of my time is spent in Freemasonry with the Trinity Episcopal Church and in such efforts as the mobile meals, charitable work.
Right.
I find it very stimulating.
You know, Eric Meace will be with us tomorrow from the Long Bay Symphony. I believe they have a performance of Handel's Messiah coming up on the 18th at Trinity.
Yes, we do.
Which is very exciting, and they do some incredible Long Bay Symphony. Of course, Trinity Episcopal's opened their doors for the symphony for quite a long time, almost always sold-out crowds.
Yes, we have a wonderful musical program, or series of programs, rather. And, of course, we're very proud of that large organ that was built in there about 5 years ago. It's probably one of the finest instruments of its kind in this part of the world. And we have a wonderful music director, Kay Sloan. And, of course, with people like Charles, we're very well blessed with music.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Eric, are you a musician yourself?
No.
Yeah. You just like to enjoy it?
The farthest I got was a trumpet in the Boy Scouts.
Well, good. Well, that's a step. We can start talking to the Boy Scouts then. Golly, Eric. But of course, our real focus is mobile meals. And
Yes,
it's
it is.
a huge. Not only you spend a lot of time. I think I saw your early involvement with mobile meals was driving vans.
Yes, I drove the van for a while, and then the board asked me to step in as a board member and then as president this past spring. And if and when we are short of a driver, I still pitch in once in a while, but not very frequently.
There are 3 locations. There's a North Myrtle Beach Mobile Meals, a Litchfield Mobile Meals,
Yes.
and the Myrtle Beach Mobile Meals. I know there's one in Conway. And of
Yes,
course,
that's right.
we talk about, you said all over the world, but these are
No, all over the United States.
all over the United States, excuse me, all over the United States.
Yes.
The commitment here is almost always with area churches or places of worship.
Well, the board members are all from the 8 area churches. The volunteers are all from the 8 churches, together with 2 full teams from the Grand Strand Regional Hospital.
Right.
And they are very enthusiastic, and they help us a lot. We're very grateful for their help.
Oh, yeah.
But each church, every 10 weeks, each church finds 10 people, 10 volunteers, and 2 per day for the 5 days of the week run and take the meals. In addition, there are 12 drivers who operate the year round, not specifically from any church, but they operate 12 months in the year. So I would say in Myrtle Beach itself, we have over 100 people involved with this ministry, and a lot of dedicated people.
If a viewer wanted to learn more, I think I saw they could, there was an opportunity possibly to visit and communicate with those churches, ask the churches about mobile meals. But of course, there's also an opportunity if a viewer was interested in supporting mobile meals that they could send donations to a P.O. box.
Absolutely.
Can you share that if a viewer needed to run to work or get family off to school or otherwise, the P.O. box address?
Well, anyone who wants to send funds to mobile meals, which will be put to good use, would be Post Office Box 7421 in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Okay. And that's 29572, I believe.
Yes, it is. Absolutely right. There are no paid people in this program. They're all volunteers. We do have expenses, of course. We have to maintain and insure the van. We obviously have to pay for the meals.
Right.
And in the last couple of years, we've made an effort to try to reach people who could not pay for their meals because we felt they were the people in greater need. And, of course, that has, again, thrown a greater burden of cost on us. And right at the present time, we're running about $7,000 a year in the red.
7,000.
It's very, very disconcerting, yes, because unless we can find additional funds, it looks like we're going to have to curtail this operation somewhat, which is a big pity because there's an awful lot of people who depend on us.
This is the Mobile Meals of Myrtle Beach you're speaking about
just of
exclusively.
Yes,
That's
indeed,
right.
I am.
That's right.
Yes.
Obviously, you all have some interaction with, I'm sure, with the Mobile Meals of Pawleys or of Litchfield, excuse me, or North Myrtle or Conway.
Well, the whole thing is known as the Mobile Meals of the Grand Strand.
Okay, sure.
And the Myrtle Beach section is just 1/4 of
Right,
that.
of which you serve as president.
Right.
And that aspect, the P.O. Box 7421, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina 29572. Break down, let's say a viewer could support through a donation of $15 maybe, or $20, or even $10. I think I saw the meals you all purchase average about $360, $365.
Yes, in that neighborhood.
Okay.
And we buy them from Buy Lows up at Plantation Point Plaza, and they're intended to provide a balanced, nourishing, hot meal. They come with a meat, with starch, 2 vegetables, dessert, tea, milk, and it's 5 days a week, the year round, even Christmas Day.
And a bread even, yeah. I saw the fascinating aspect. The meals include, you said, meat, starch, 2 vegetables, a bread, dessert, and milk and tea.
Milk and tea.
That's fantastic.
Yes, it is. It is.
Bilo's really worked a great deal out for you all, so they get everything ready. So you come in and buy in bulk.
Well, yes, we do. In fact, we have large bins for heated food, insulated bins, and we go to Buy Lows about 9:30 in the morning and pick this food up already pre-packed in the bins and leave from there with the van and begin delivery immediately. And it usually takes about 3 hours a day, because of course the load varies from week to week. We normally deliver between 45 and say 52 meals a day. Getting into the 50s begins to stretch the capability, but how do you turn people away when they urgently need food? So that's what we do. 45 to 52 is about an average number.
Okay. And of course, for viewers who may feel they know somebody who'd be interested, can they still write to that same P.O. box?
Yes, indeed, they may.
Okay.
Certainly.
How do you all make decisions as to, there's so many needy folks, as you know, up and down the Strand and in the city of Myrtle Beach in particular. Right? How do you all determine who will be a recipient of a meal on a daily or a regular basis?
Every guest, and we call them guests or clients, every guest is screened before the service begins. And we keep a very tight watch on who is getting meals, and certainly who are getting free meals, because if their circumstances change, we may have to change our stance too.
Right.
But we get recommendations from the clergy of the various 8 churches, from doctors, from neighbors, from family. I've even been stopped on the street when I was driving the van and asked if I could handle another paying or non-paying customer. And of course this comes back to one of our people who always screens the candidate before he or she gets the meals. Very dedicated people. It's amazing how much time they put into this.
Now, if a viewer sent in and they felt possibly they would be covered by the mobile meals in Myrtle Beach, you found out that they would go to North Myrtle or to Conway or to another area, you could easily forward on that note, or would you contact somebody at those locations, or are we talking specifically if a viewer was interested, they need to live in the city of Myrtle Beach?
To receive the meals, they do have to live in the city of Myrtle Beach.
Right.
But if someone approached us out of not knowing any better and said, you know, my brother John needs the Meals on Wheels service if possible, and he lives in North Myrtle Beach, what do I do?
Right.
We would call someone in North Myrtle Beach.
That's fantastic.
Yes,
sure. Okay.
Absolutely.
They could still use that P.O. Box 7421 in Myrtle Beach 29572.
That's the main contact.
That's invaluable. Of course, so many of the activities for you, do you have memories from when you first began driving the van, let's say, Eric? Can you think of some of those special memories early on, or some of the interaction you have with folks?
Well, certainly when I began driving, it was difficult to get around on time because, you know, people are tucked away in all little streets. I had no idea that Myrtle Beach was such a complex little city. I used to think, like Lee Trevino once said on television, it's just one long road and that's all there is to it. Right. Not so. There are all kinds of little areas that are full of homes which you don't normally come across. So when I started driving, it was difficult to find my way around.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing, you know, when you're delivering and driving, there are so many people who are quite lonely, and they don't speak to very many people in the course of a day. And when they find someone bringing food or know someone's bringing food, they want to talk. They have all day to talk. Right. And that was difficult to cut that off.
I bet.
It really was. But it's a wonderful ministry. It's a love-driven ministry. And the people, the 100 people that I mentioned who are involved with the Myrtle Beach group, they are so dedicated, and many of them have been doing it for years. For years.
How long has Mobile Meals of Myrtle Beach been around, Eric?
Well, they started in 1976. The first few meals were made at the old Sandstrom Nursing Home up on 67th Avenue, and the meals were delivered by private car. So we have come quite a long way since that time.
Yes, you have, to that 99 Dodge van.
That's it.
Which you now, and constantly have to update that and keep that running well. That's the singular van that's used for all 45 to 52 meals a day.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Yes, it is. And it was donated by the Chapin Foundation. And it is an expense, of course, to maintain it. Fuel's getting more expensive. But that is one of our few expenses, thank goodness, outside of food.
Now, that is something that if a viewer had a connection where they could donate certain items, if they couldn't provide funds, but had a friend, let's say, who owned a gas station who could give a couple $100 a week or a month of available gas or other services, could they still write to you at that P.O. box?
Absolutely. Certainly.
There's also that opportunity I think you mentioned. We want to go over those 8 churches because a viewer can contact those 8 churches to be put in touch with the best way to support mobile meals.
And it may be their church, you know.
That's right. Please, let's review those 8 churches.
Well, we have Trinity Episcopal.
Okay.
We have St. Michael Catholic. We have the 2 Lutheran churches, St. Philip's and the Risen Christ. We have First Presbyterian.
Right.
And we have 2 Baptists, First Baptist and Baptist of Ocean View Drive.
Okay.
And I'm missing one, aren't I?
There's one more church, golly. I'm sorry. We had to try to think who those 8 churches were.
It's the United Methodist
There
Church
we
in
are.
Myrtle Beach.
Very good. Yes, yes.
Now,
and
each of those churches also have people on the board. So they are represented that way.
Right.
And therefore, the funding and the needs of the Mobile Meals Group are well known to the churches through that board.
Oh, yeah.
And we meet once a month at the First Presbyterian Church and review problems or opportunities and see how the load is going and can we take any more strain. But usually the big problem is the shortage of funds.
Well, the exciting thing is now, would there be a shortage of funds if all the customers or clients were paid folks?
No, I don't believe there would be, because the last couple of years we have really made a point of trying to reach people who can't pay.
Who cannot pay.
They don't have the funds to pay, feeling that they are probably more deserving than the people who could pay. But it's had its penalty, and this is the reason why we're $7,000 in the red at the present time annually.
Golly, Eric, and of course the commitment you all make, and I think about that aspect of being out and delivering the meals, and as you say, that interaction with the folks, whether they're paying clients or non-paying clients, that aspect of a need to share time with somebody. That must be very gratifying.
Well, it is. It's a wonderful experience. And some of the ladies who are involved with the Mobile Meals of Myrtle Beach have actually prepared small gifts for Christmas and Easter.
Oh, yeah.
With the help of some of the staff from the Grand Strand Medical Hospital. And they are presented and handed out with the food at the right time, Easter or Christmas. So there really is no end to this feeling of love, you know, for one's fellow neighbor.
Share with viewers again how Grand Strand Regional Medical Center is involved. Are they involved in helping to, I mean, all the meals are again prepared by the folks at BILO, is that correct?
They are.
Okay.
Yes.
So the folks at Grand Strand are just all volunteers, much like the 8 church members, the United Way supporters, or the foundation from
every
Ocean
10
View?
weeks they produce a full crew of 2 people per day for 5 days.
Wow.
And you know, there's a benefit there because most of the other people are retirees.
Yeah.
The folks from the Grand Strand Hospital are not. They can run faster. so actually they cut a little time off our delivery. But they're wonderful people. They're very dedicated and very enthused. It's just wonderful to have them with us.
Well, do you have needs for volunteers as well, Eric?
Yes,
Are there
we do.
constant needs for volunteers?
We do, and we have needs for drivers.
Okay.
All the drivers are screened, they are insured, and there are there's a pool of 12 drivers, but only 10, of course, are actually needed. But people go out of town, they get sick, so we need 10 as a core group to drive every second week. And we can always use extra drivers.
And again, if a viewer had an idea of a name of somebody they felt who could be a driver, a volunteer, the P.O. Box 7421 in Myrtle Beach 29572, who would a viewer want to address that donation or suggestion to?
They could address it to the Mobile Meals, the Board of Directors of Mobile Meals.
Or just Mobile Meals of Myrtle Beach.
That would find us.
At that P.O. Box.
Yes.
7421.
Because our treasurer, she goes to that post office box just about every day. So there's a very short lag time, and then it would be in the system almost immediately, whoever wrote the letter.
Now, a viewer could also support Mobile Meals directly through their church, making donations through their church directly to Mobile Meals, saying they wanted to support Mobile Meals and cut a check, let's say, to First Presbyterian Church for Mobile Meals, or to the Lutheran Church for Mobile Meals. Is that correct?
Yes. If that happened, then the church passes the check on to a member of the board, and they have a member of their congregation who is on the board. So it's a very simple and direct way of doing that.
Sure. That's very important. You know, oftentimes folks like to supply a check or otherwise directly to their place of worship and have them pass it on to feel there's a different connection rather than sending it to a P.O. box.
True, and they really are making a difference.
I
Yes.
think I saw in 2001, Eric, you received the Silver Crescent Award from the state of South Carolina. That's a big deal. What was that for?
Well, it was for charity work.
Is that right?
Governor Hodges at the time presented that, and it was a pretty wonderful experience.
I bet. I remember it going to Columbia with Hilda Merritt Carter, another resident who received one from Governor Hodges in late 2001. I think yours was earlier in 2001. She received one. We went up to the state capitol, and very, very exciting to see that.
Yes, indeed. A very emotional time.
I bet.
Yes.
I bet.
Because I have been involved in other charities, but and they're all very satisfying, but each of them in a different way, I think, you know. The mobile meals really, these are our neighbors. These are people in Myrtle Beach who require help, and it really comes home to you very quickly.
If someone felt they could be a paying customer, let's say, Eric, how would they know what the amount they would need to pay? Does that change? Does that differ from, and I've not to get into particulars, but I want to know if a viewer felt they could, I mean, they needed to get a meal, but they had the funds to pay and just wanted someone to be able to bring them a meal. What would they need to know financially?
Well, that's rather difficult because we don't send meals to people who can fend for themselves pretty much.
Okay.
If you or I applied to mobile meals for a meal, we probably would be turned down because
even if we could pay whatever, I mean, you know.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Because we're not a restaurant on wheels.
Right.
We're here as a ministry to serve people who are shut in, injured, just out of the hospital, can't fend for themselves, whether they can pay or not. But the underlying rule is that they must need food because they need help.
Okay.
And we just can't sort of send food to people who are hale and hearty like we are.
Right, sure. But if a viewer is stuck at the house, couldn't get out, but felt they could be, but felt that they could be a paying customer. If someone was in their home but felt they could support something, what's the amount they would need to come up with on a regular basis? Does it change?
Oh no, it doesn't change very much. It's about $3.50 a day.
Great. Okay.
Yes, about
Wow.
$3.50. And of course, they would be screened like everyone else.
Sure, sure, absolutely. The primary needs for assistance, if someone was catching you for the first time, or if you were talking to a high school class and you wanted to get the word out, what is it? Is it primarily financial, Eric?
Our need? Yes, it is.
It is.
Absolutely, it's a financial need. We do require drivers and runners from time to time, but the overriding, ongoing, most important thing is the lack of funds. And it would be such a pity if this ministry had to be shut down or even cut down a little bit, because there are so many people, and of course Myrtle Beach is growing, the number of people in need are growing, and we perform a different service than the community kitchen, which gets us back to where we were a few minutes ago, because the people in the community kitchen can walk to the community kitchen, they can handle themselves, but perhaps our customers cannot. Our guests are shut-ins. They probably are just released from the hospital. They're old perhaps and can't cook. So we're reaching a different segment of the population than is community kitchen.
Eric, if you weren't currently the president of Mobile Meals of Myrtle Beach and committing so many man-hours to Mobile Meals, what charity or what group do you think would be hogging your time?
Well, I do spend a lot of time with the children's program for the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. And this is for preschool children who have learning disabilities, language learning disabilities. We have now 3 clinics in South Carolina. There's one that's been operating since 1987 in Columbia. We opened one in Greenville about 3 years ago, and I opened one in Charleston just August 31. We received our first child. And these children are trained by and tutored by trained clinicians. It's a very high standard, and we hope in 2 years' time to open a standalone clinic in Charleston in lieu of the present one, which is rather a small one, just to get us started in Charleston. But, you know, approximately 15% of all children could be helped by this program.
Is that right? 15%?
It's a big number. Yeah, it sure is.
That's fascinating.
And I was involved at one time with Habitat for Humanity, not so much anymore. There are only so many hours in a week.
Yes.
And I was the founding president of the Exchange Clubs of America, which sadly folded here in Myrtle Beach. But if you're charitably minded, you're never short of a job.
That's right. That's right, Eric. And the biggest inspiration for you on a daily basis, committing so much time to Mobile Meals of Myrtle Beach, is it physically going out and providing that ministry one-on-one with folks, or just making sure that the operation can run?
I think it's the satisfaction of knowing that we're helping people who otherwise would be in dire straits.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're driving that van and going out one-on-one, you really don't have that amount of time to talk with everybody. You'd never be finished. But it's the satisfaction of knowing that you have helped someone who otherwise would have been hungry or more miserable, perhaps.
Eric, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Entirely my pleasure. I've enjoyed it very much indeed.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Definitely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Eric Meace coming up next. Think about it, 2 days before Thanksgiving. It takes so much time to recognize so many charitable groups in the area, whether it's Mobile Meals of North Myrtle Beach or Conway or Litchfield area. There's a Mobile Meals of Myrtle Beach. There's probably a Mobile Meals in your town, whether it's Hartsville or Lumberton or Laurinburg. But this P.O. Box is real simple. P.O. Box 7421 in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina 29572. That's 7421. Just if you've got an idea, you know somebody who could be a volunteer, you know somebody who could provide a service, if you could make a donation, it's P.O. Box 7421, zip 29572. Take the time to write that down. We're 2 days before Thanksgiving. Someone you know, one of your neighbors could be the recipient. You need to send their name in, and it's P.O. Box 7421. The one thing Eric didn't get out was that Mobile Meals of Myrtle Beach is a 501c3. That means any check you write would be provided as a charitable donation to a nonprofit corporation. You can also write it to one of those 8 area churches. They'll find a way to get it to Mobile Meals of Myrtle Beach. That's P.O. Box 7421.